Welcome to another edition of Swim Easy Speed. My name's Tim Floyd. I'm going to take you through today. I came across an article, came out a couple weeks ago. Brett Sutton wrote an article about how he's starting to use what he calls Medley drills that he gives to his team when he's coaching. And so I kind of wanted to go into that. The video from today is a athlete swimmer I used to coach. She's in college now. She's an IMer, breaststroker, a little bit of a sprint freestyler. And we jumped in the pool and we're just kind of looking at all of her strokes. And there was some commonality that I wanted to kind of show you guys and relate it back to this article that Sutton had written. And, what he had found out was, he had been for a long time very much, hey, we're going to get all the variation we need in pull buoy band, paddle work, and in different combinations of his freestyle when he was just training freestyle. And what he started to have some ex-swimmers that were coming into his program, and they wanted to do some medley work to kind of break stuff up. And what he found was that it was helping improve their freestyle stroke technique. And then he adapted or modified, particularly breaststroke and butterfly, for non-swimmers. And he saw improvements in their stroke too. And he basically attributes it to a couple things. And what he likes about it is, mixing it up in the drills or these modified strokes. Have the added benefit of producing enhancement by movement rather than verbal instruction. I think that's what he said in the article. Effectively, what he's describing is kind of a constraint-led kind of approach where your brain and body are forced to make a movement a particular way, and so you tend to get a little bit of a bigger bump or benefit from it. The components, he doesn't really go into what the components are of butterfly and breaststroke that he uses. If I had to guess, it would be basically freestyle with a butterfly kick. So you'd work on that timing. So it would be the timing of the stroke at the top of the kick. You'd have a downbeat on when you were grabbing the water with the right hand, and then a downbeat when you were grabbing with the water with the left hand. For breaststroke, it would be either freestyle kick with the kind of sculling motion of the breaststroke pull, or again, maybe a butterfly kick with a breaststroke pull. And you could kind of work on core engagement with the catch of the hand at the top of the stroke on the breaststroke pull. Which would relate back to the freestyle. But again, both of those are really going to drive timing and core engagement and that critical kind of neuromuscular component of the stroke. So, what we're going to look at today is an athlete. She's an IMer, breaststroker, sprint freestyler. And some of the things that we saw in her stroke across the board in all three. And we'll just kind of go through them really quick and then how it led us to work on some other stuff with her stroke. So here we go. So here's her freestyle. You can tell she's, got a very kind of 50 freestyle sprint stroke, but you can see, even with her, and the last time I coached her kind of full time, she was 11. She's now 21. So you can see, even here, she's a little bit down in the water. And again, I'm going to reiterate with the endless pool, one of the things it'll do is it tends to exaggerate any issues in the stroke. So typically when you see kind of body position like that, it's a core engagement kind of issue. So we'll go back and I'll rewind it for you one more time. You guys can check it out. Okay, so here she is swimming, but you can see her feet are pretty together. Hips and shoulders are fairly well connected. There's a little bit of floppiness kind of coming over the top. And then here she is underwater. So you can see a little bit of the difference between, she drops the elbow a little bit right there, but gets a pretty good pull on the water. And then here we go. This looks pretty good in terms of position. Wrist is below elbow, below shoulder. I mean, she could bring the elbow up a little bit, but she does get into a pretty good position by there. So she's starting to really pull herself forward. You can see that surge, how her whole body comes up on the water. And then, her hips are pretty low in the water in comparison to where they should be for a sprint freestyler. But there you can see kind of they're going above the surface of the water. And then her feet are pretty low. But again, that's kind of, there's not a ton of connection between her core and her lower body. So then we'll go on to, here we are with backstroke. And again, what you see even with the backstroke is kind of that angle on the water. Typically what you'd want to see with backstroke would be that right here, the feet are kind of just breaking the surface of the water barely. I'm not as concerned about kind of the hip position, but, you'd really want to get kind of that, the feet really breaking that surface of the water. And you can see kind of from this angle, she's kind of, there was one. But the rest of the time, the feet are kind of low. Head position looks pretty still and stable. Stroke looks pretty good. So here she is kind of underwater. You can see she's grabbing, but you can see right there on the left side where she kind of slips. She's got a lot of bubbles right there that she's grabbing. And then I'd like to kind of typically see maybe a little bit more push right down the side because she kind of just lets it go. And then here's breaststroke. So again, with breaststroke, what we'd like to see would be on, this looks pretty good. She's a little bit high, and then her feet are kind of low. And then, you'd really like to see she's a better 200 breaststroker than she is a 100 breaststroker. So you can see right there, her head doesn't really break the surface of the water. And, her hips are kind of coming up, but not as much as you'd kind of like to see them. So one of the things that we'd want to work on would be, again, getting more core connection between here, and then the upper body and back to there. So we're really trying to create this stable platform so she can, all the power that she's generating, she can move it forward so that there's kind of this base of stability that she's creating in the water to really, all the power that she's generating just goes straight forward instead of off to the side, down, up. You want it as much as possible to kind of go forward.